Hey everyone, Zyax here. Let's talk about mistakes a lot of new players make when coming into Final Fantasy XIV. Because the one thing I've seen is that a lot of people make these mistakes and there's kind of, no point. They can be easily avoided. So let's start off with number one, rushing content. I'll be honest with you guys, this is something that's pretty common in MMOs in general. However, it doesn't really work as well in Final Fantasy XIV. Now, you can rush to level 80 if you want to. It's not impossible, it's not super difficult if you're just trying to purely get to endgame. However, those of you going through the storyline, definitely take it easy. Don't feel like you need to get somewhere. Think of it in a way of like a single player game, right? If you're playing something like Nier or something like, I don't know, any other Final Fantasy game, you're not going to be rushing the content. You're going to take your time, you're going to enjoy it, and that's the same mindset you should be going into Final Fantasy XIV with. The point of the game, first and foremost, is the story. You're going in to get the storyline, to enjoy the content that's in there, and then secondary, it's going to be the endgame content. However, that doesn't mean endgame content isn't as relevant when you get there. It's just that the focal point is always going to be the story. That's kind of the purpose of a Final Fantasy game in general. Now, not only can that kind of cause you to go into a burnout state, and because you rushed so much content so fast, you're kind of getting tired or bored of the game. That's another thing that you should kind of know when to take a break, right? You're playing through essentially 3 to 4 storylines. You're going through a Realm Reborn, Heavensward, Stormblood, Shadowbringers, all of the content in between, such as the raid content, possibly some side quests, dungeon stories. There's a lot to go through, right? So you definitely want to take it easy, enjoy yourself with the storyline. Now, my advice if you're rushing purely to level 80 however, right, you're not interested in the story, and that's perfectly fine, not everyone is going to be. I would highly recommend you take it a lot easier. Going through the main scenario questline and skipping everything definitely feels exhausting as you get further and further in. I've leveled up 2 alts, and obviously because I've seen the story on one of them, I don't really need to see the story 2 more times. I totally understand how it could be exhausting to get to level 80 really fast, especially having to do mandatory dungeons, mandatory quests, those kind of things. So again, my advice, take it easy. I recommend you do a Realm Reborn, maybe take like a day or 2 break after that. Do Heavensward, take a day or 2 break. Same thing with Stormblood, and when you get to the end of Shadowbringers, you've made it to the most recent content, right? The current raid tier. If you're going to be kind of doing that, I don't really recommend getting a level skip or a story skip per se, because just by doing the main storyline, you're getting yourself to level 80 really quickly. Not on top of that, you're skipping the stories in the process. By skipping the whole story and skipping the whole leveling experience, you're not going to get a good enough feel for your class, right? You're kind of just going to the end of it without understanding how it works and flows together. So my high recommendation is do not buy level skips and do not buy story skips, purely because you won't understand the fundamentals of your class well enough. And some people might be like, well, I'm playing Paladin, right? It's not really that complex of a class. It might not be, but you're going to be missing the nuanced aspects of the class, such as knowing how to tank, how to use your cooldowns, how to use maybe this ability versus that ability at times, when to use your defensive abilities to help out the healer or your invulnerability, right? There are these nuanced things that you won't really grasp as well just skipping straight to the end. It's not impossible, but it's just going to be a much more difficult time. So if you're going to rush it, I definitely recommend just take a little bit of a break in between each expansion, even a day or 2 or a couple hours. You'll thank yourself for it later on. Now, the next thing I've seen so many people mess up on, even at the end of Heavensward. I don't know how you get to the end of Heavensward and not know this, but it's gonna happen. Soul stones, right? The things you get at level 30 for your job advancement, not every single class is going to need it. If you're a class past Heavensward, such as Machinist, Astrologian, Gunbreaker, Dancer, Red Mage, Samurai, Blue Mage, right? You get the Soul Stone essentially right away. You don't really need to worry about it. However, if you're playing any of the other classes from A Realm Reborn, including Ninja, you need a Soul Stone, and you get it by doing the job questline, which is going to be that secondary icon on the top left of your screen underneath the main story questline. You need to be doing that. It gives you more abilities past level 30. Your class does advance. It's not automatic in this game, and it's not really that, I guess, that easy to know about if you're not doing the job questline, because the game doesn't force you to do them. There's no story progression past, like, up until like Stormblood, I guess. Like there's progression stopping in Shadowbringers for one point, but throughout the other 3 expansions, you don't need to do a single job quest line. They don't force it on you, and that's kind of a problem that they should fix, in my opinion. But do your soul quest line, your soul stone. You know, seeing a level 50 gladiator is one of the most jarring things you'll witness, but some people just really don't know that there's a soul stone because it doesn't auto equip to you. And on top of that, when you do get the soul stone, you still need to equip it. It's gonna go into your inventory. You need to equip it manually, and like your class will go from gladiator to paladin, or you know, marauder to warrior. So just remember to do that. If you want a more comprehensive list of every class and which one needs a soul stone, check out my new player guide. It's going to be linked somewhere. Now, the next thing that should be mentioned is just because quests are daily quests does not mean they're mandatory to do, such as the beast tribes. They reset every day at 11 a.m. Eastern. I think that's like what, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check your conversion if you need it. And they're not mandatory. You're not forced to do them just because they're daily quests. You should be doing them because you either want to advance with the beast tribe, or you're trying to get some kind of profits or something of the sort, right? Like if you're doing the dwarf beast tribes in Shadowbringers, you're mainly doing that to get the slither sand right now if you're maxed out, because that item is expensive right now, at least as of July 2021. So definitely don't force yourself to do them. Same thing with roulettes. Roulettes are not mandatory to do. If this is your first character in the game and you just started the game, you don't have any alt classes, don't worry about doing roulettes, right? Like roulettes are cool if you want that little bit of bonus experience, but for the most part, if you're leveling purely from the main storyline and you're doing every blue quest you see in the area, you will get to level 80 without needing any mandatory, I guess, additional pieces of content. Just remember to eat your food. That's 3% experience, which is gonna add up quite a bit by the end of it. So again, just because they're dailies, you don't have to do them every day. Do them whenever you want or whenever you're comfortable with. Same thing with weekly quest lines, like the custom deliveries and all that. They're not gonna take you too long to do, but don't force yourself to do them if you don't want to, right? Like you're not gonna, it's not like, there's nothing in this game that's telling you, hey, you didn't do your custom deliveries, you're set back by a whole week, you have to wait one whole more week to do this content. Like, no, you have enough time. Just feel free to take your time. Now, another thing that I've seen a lot of complaints with a couple of my friends who are new to MMOs in general, or think like this game has the alt job system, like you need an alternate character to do another class. You're not forced to stick with the class you start off with. You can swap whenever you want. Hearing some people not enjoy warrior but thinking they're unable to switch classes is kind of sad, right? You can definitely switch whenever you want past, I think it's like level 10. You just need to do your first 2 job quest lines, which you're going to do passively just playing the game. So if you're not a fan of like Black Mage at level 34 or something, right? Feel free to swap. You're not forced to play it. If anything, you can go back to it later. The beauty of Final Fantasy 11 and 14, even though we're not talking about 11, this is also a whole thing in that game. One character encompasses every class in the game, whether it's damage, healing, tank, crafting, mining, like it's everything is in one package. And I can't get into another MMO because of that. But like, again, if you don't like Black Mage, feel free to try out Paladin. You might like it way more. Or better yet, you can do whatever you want. And a little cheat way to kind of like test out the class you want to play is get it unlocked and then go do Palace of the Dead in the Quarry Mill. It is a good way to test out a class that you might want to try. It caps out at level 60, but because you're going to be getting like 20 levels a minute inside of it, it's its own instance, its own leveling system. It does not convert into real, leveling. Like, you'll get experience out of it, just not as crazy as it is inside Palace of the Dead. So you can definitely try out like Dragoon or Paladin or Dark Knight or anything, right? Like whatever you want to do, you can get to level 60 and test out the abilities up until 60. Having it high is also the option. It goes up until 70, but if I recall right, you need to have a class already at level 60 unlocked. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's been a while since I've done it, but I think you need to be 60 to test out the 70 stuff. But nonetheless, again, swap whenever you want. Don't feel like you're forced to play whatever you chose with. Next thing is, and it's a very simple thing, add the limit break ability to your hotbar somewhere. Have it active all the time, no matter what class you're at. I've seen tanks say they don't need their limit break when we go into Alexander 12, and for those of you who've done it, you've known it's a mandatory limit break 3, and then neither tank has the limit break option available because they just never used it, so they never bothered to put it on their hotbar. It doesn't matter if you've never used it. I highly recommend you still put it somewhere on your hotbar, because there's going to be that one instance where it's going to come up and you're all going to wipe, right? So for the most part, from what I've seen, in order of most used to least used, for casual play, it's going to be the melee DPS limit break, followed by archer and, well, I guess ranged and magical DPS. They're both kind of used interchangeably, honestly. Then healer limit break 3, which to revive everyone because it's a whoopsie reset. And then the tank LB, because it's just invulnerability for the most part, or just a massive shield, and it's not going to come up as frequently, but like I said, there will be times. And then also just having a dungeon finish and then no one used limit break when limit break like 2 or 3 was an option the whole time. It's like, it would have been nice to just kill a little bit faster. Again, it's a very nitpicky thing. It's not really like the biggest game changer in the world, but again, it's just something that just have it on your keybar. There's no problem, or hotbar, whatever you want to call it, somewhere on your screen that you can click on it. It's available in the actions and traits of, I think it's in general or something of the sort. You'll see it on the screen somewhere. So the next thing to say, and this kind of goes back to Soulstones a little bit, do your job quest line as they come. I know I'm mentioning this a bit later, I kind of forgot about it. You should definitely be doing them whenever you can, because these job quest lines will give you not only new abilities, it'll give you more experience, and it'll give you gear towards your class. So you're getting kind of 3 things for one, and it's just nice. And if you're also interested, a lot of these job quest lines have their own storylines, so it gives you a bit of an insight to the guild that they're in, a couple of alternative characters in the storyline. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not as great, right? But hey, to each their own. I definitely recommend, if you're doing the Dark Knight one, definitely stick it out. It's a really good storyline for pretty much, if not the best job storyline of the game. So please definitely give that one a good read. It's super solid. I recommend just making a Dark Knight just for that, if anything. It's so good. And for the most part, this is going to be a pretty simple video. I'm not going to go ahead and make it a 50-minute video of like things everyone should definitely know no matter what, or things like everyone makes a mistake about. These are some general ones that I've seen kind of be the most frequent, most relevant one, right? Rushing content, soulstones and job quests not being done, seeing people kind of like force themselves to do dailies when it's not really needed, and then people thinking they're stuck with the class they're at for a much longer period when you can pretty much swap at like level 10. So again, I hope this helped you guys in some way or another. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the video. You guys know the whole drill. It makes me know that the content I'm doing is interesting to you guys and you guys might want to see more in the future. And I stream essentially every day more or less on twitch.tv/KraDeNine. I'm doing Ultimate UCAB right now, so if you want to see that, it's on Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursday. We might have it off once in a while, but not very frequently. And the other days I'm either doing random content that is pretty much just completing the game. So thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed, take it easy, and see you guys in the next video.